Thanks very much for joining us today. There's a lot of talk about the TV debates coming up and the Prime Minister's different proposals and why he's going to turn up. What do you make of what the broadcasters have put forward?
I think what they've put forward now looks pretty sensible. I mean, I think the proposal for a seven-party debate has a lot going for it. It accepts the reality of modern politics, the diversity, the fact that politics is no longer a duopoly between the Labour and Conservative parties. I mean, apart from the huge success of the SNP just now, I suppose the most interesting thing in opinion polls is how low the support of the Labour and Conservative parties is combined. And these are parties who are now struggling to get 60% of the vote together. Therefore, to have a political debate which excluded the other 40% of the country would be ridiculous. And therefore, the seven-party debate strikes me as exciting. And I think the fact that the SNP, the Greens and Plaid Cymru are all led by women gives an interesting aspect to the debate. And I think these interesting women will be a lot more vibrant and appealing than the old boys club who will be representing the Conservatives, the Labour Party, UKIP and the other lot, Liberal Democrats. So I think as in broadcasting terms, I think people will be quite interested to see it. The last debate, or the debate with the Labour and Tory, I mean, well, isn't that what happens every Wednesday in the House of Commons? I mean, my view of Cameron and Miliband is they've turned off more television viewers than the standby button.
Aren't you a bit worried with those seven leaders it could sort of degrade into sort of shouting match, and not the voters at the end of the day won't find out a lot about what the parties have to offer? I
think the young women will have the edge over the old boys, and I think they'll put across their case in a way which will attract people. The old boys network, well, I think they'll struggle, but that's not because there's seven parties, that's because of who they are. It's not the format that's the problem for Labour and Tory, it's the cast. That's the problem.
And another media-related question. It looked like the Scottish Sun was going to back the yes vote in the lead up to the referendum. The few inklings, Rupert Murdoch visiting. I just wondered, how is your relationship with Mr. Murdoch after the independence? Did that change anything when he didn't back you guys, or was it just the same as it was before?
There's no change at all. I mean, if I remember right, Mr. Murdoch's visit to Scotland was the weekend before the referendum.
Yes.
I would have thought if the Sun, which is only one of the Murdoch papers, was going to back independence, it would have done it substantially before that timescale. But the Sun, to be fair, was one of the very few papers who had an even-handed approach to the campaign. They reported the campaign properly and fairly. So they were on the fence, as it were. The only newspaper that supported independence was the Sunday Herald. Every other newspaper, with probably the exception of the Courier in Dundee, were hostile to independence, which makes the yes result all the more remarkable, doesn't it? That against that press hostility, that so many people decided to vote for independence. Obviously, social media was dominated by the independence campaign. But I won an election in 2007 with both of the major tabloid papers in Scotland attacking the SNP. In fact, if I remember correctly, the Sun had a noose as an SNP symbol on the front page. In 2011, the Sun backed the SNP, it should be said. But I think the point is, you don't need old conventional newspapers on your side to win or lose elections. You win elections on the strength of your argument, on the ability to put forward a case. Those who believe that their fate lies in the hands of the Sun or any other newspaper are basically covering for their own inadequacies as politicians. So I would have loved other newspapers, including the Sun, to have backed independence, but I don't think the fate of the independence campaign was decided by which newspaper did or didn't back the SNP.
And do you think those papers which didn't back you with the independence, do you think they may be backing the SNP at the general election?
I think some might. I mean, certainly I know that the circulation of many of these newspapers is now infinitesimal. So I would suspect a number will want to redeem themselves in the view of the readers, or do their best to. But you know, I think people are voting with their subscriptions. The new newspaper in Scotland, the National, has a substantial circulation, higher than many of the other papers now, and that started from scratch. So it does indicate that that marketplace, the void of having a daily paper that supports independence, has now been filled. We'll see how that develops. But you know, look, the written press, the old press, no longer is in a position that it can dictate the result of elections. If it ever was, and probably some years ago it was in a more commanding position than it is now. But there's so many other ways and vehicles to get across opinions that the written press are no longer in a position that they decide elections. And politicians who believe that, you know, Neil Kinnock used to believe that you know, if it only hadn't been for the papers, then he would be Prime Minister. I suspect if it hadn't been for Neil Kinnock, he might have been Prime Minister. It's an alibi. So I don't regard the press as either a major obstacle or a major advantage. Obviously, I'd love papers to back the SNP, but I don't regard it as the be-all and end-all of politics. I think the referendum campaign demonstrated how you can mobilise opinion without the support of the old-fashioned press.
Great. That's all my questions answered, so thanks very much for
Great pleasure.
your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you.